Are you struggling with making your fragrances last a long time when you're wearing them? Then today in this video I'm going to give you my secrets or my choices of what I do to make my fragrances last a long time when I'm wearing them. So if you're curious to find out about what I do to make my fragrances last a long time, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. If this is your first time tuning into the channel and you love watching fragrance reviews, finding out about new fragrances, discovering new brands, and of course participating in giveaways, and still haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So the last couple of weeks I've been doing some how-to videos. First week we did how to store your fragrances, and last week we did a video on how to layer fragrances, which actually are related to this video, and you can actually use both to kind of work together to not only layer fragrances but also to extend the life of your fragrances that you're wearing or make them last longer. So these videos go hand in hand, and if you have any questions to send to me for future videos, you can do that LFSGQuestions@gmail.com so that I can get as many questions as I have. I mean, I've been getting a lot of them emailed to me. I don't know if I can make or do videos about each one, but any of them that are like short, quick answers, we'll probably do an extended video. But I like the idea of doing these videos because a lot of you are asking them for me to do them, and of course, not only does it educate myself, I like to educate you guys as well. So how do I make my fragrances last a long time? Well, okay, so since I've been doing this video thing for quite a while, it hasn't been that important for me to make my fragrances last a long time because I'm testing a lot of fragrances throughout the day. So I'm always moving on to the next fragrance. So for me, this is not very important because I'm always wearing fragrance and I don't need to extend the life of the fragrances that I'm wearing. But it was important to me when I wasn't doing this. So there are some tricks that I know that I do. And for me, since I have dry skin, I guess what I should say is dry skin is not as good to have when you're wearing fragrance versus oily skin. I don't have oily skin, so oily skin is one of the best skin types to have to make your fragrances last a long time because the oiliness of the skin kind of clings on to the fragrance and it actually extends the life of fragrance. So if you have dry skin like me, then this is a video for you to check out. And the very first thing I would like to say is I'm only talking about applying fragrances after a shower, but when I do fragrances and I want to extend the life of fragrances and I never showered or I never washed my hands and I spray fragrances, it kind of works differently because you already have a layer of, I don't know, dirt or sweat or whatever, and that actually already makes my fragrances last longer. So I'm only speaking about after a shower. So you're showered, you're cleaned up, and you're completely like dried up, no scent, nothing on you except for any products you might have used in the shower. And this is what I'm talking about with this video. So there are times that I wear fragrances that last a long time, but it's because I've already sweated once, my arms or you know something, dirt, whatever happened, and I spray fragrance on it, and it does tend to last a lot longer than when I've just showered. So this is specifically after your shower. One of the things that you should do if you have dry skin like me, I don't have oily skin whatsoever, dry skin, moisturize with lotions. So those are one of the very first things you could do in order to extend the life of your fragrances. Oily or moist skin, lotion skin is going to extend or prolong the life of your fragrance just in general. And what I would do is unscented lotions so that you can have a nice layer of oily lotion, or not necessarily oily lotion, but I prefer the oilier the better. But I have some choices for you to try that are inexpensive. You might have your own favorite lotion. And personally, I'm not one that moisturizes all the time. I guess I should because I have dry skin, but I'm not the type that would actually like seek out a lot of different lotions to test out and all that good stuff. But I have 5 choices here that you can try. Aveeno Skin Relief Fragrance-Free Moisturizing Lotion. There's a Cetaphil Daily Advanced Ultra Hydrating Lotion. Eucerin Skin Calming Daily Moisturizing Cream. Vaseline Intensive Care Advanced Repair Fragrance-Free Lotion. And finally, Gold Bond Soothing Skin Therapy Lotion Fragrance Free. So these are 5 lotions that are around or under $10 that are inexpensive that you can use. But now there are more high-end lotions that I'm not recommending here, and those are probably even better, but the high-end lotions that I'm used to usually have a fragrance. So you want to make sure you do a fragrance-free lotion so that it doesn't interfere with the fragrance you're wearing. So lotions, moisturize are one of the best things you could do when you're applying fragrances to you. It'll extend the life of the fragrance. Now, in the last video for layering fragrances, I mentioned there are lotions that come with fragrances that you buy in a gift set, or you can buy them separately with the scent of the fragrance you're buying. So those are also perfect to apply first. You moisturize with that fragrance and then you spray the fragrance on top. That will actually extend the life of your fragrance further as well. So I don't have any guarantees of how much this works. You're gonna have to do some trial and errors and see what works better. But for me, when I've done lotions, they have definitely extended the life of the fragrance. It's just I don't usually moisturize too much. I should, but I've noticed that it does extend the life when you apply lotions. So that's one of the first things you could do to extend the life of your fragrances. So when I had the previous channel, I had spoken about a product called Canvas and Concrete. It's a fragrance primer. I'll show you. I had actually a whole review of this product. I don't even know if they make this product, and I used to use it more frequently when I first bought it. Dating back to like 2013, 2014, and it really did work. So when you spray this stuff on your skin, it leaves a sheen, like a oil, not an oily, but like sticky sheen where I spray this stuff. And then on that section or that spot on your skin is where you would apply a fragrance, and the fragrance primer's job is to extend the life of your fragrance. So as you can see right there, it's very sticky looking. Let me hold this right there. So that's where you would apply. So I don't know if they make this product anymore, if you guys know or not. I did some research and I couldn't find a website for it, so maybe it's no longer being made, but this really did work. It did prolong the life of my fragrance. Not necessarily a lot of time, but maybe like an hour or two where it clings on, that stickiness on your hand or wherever you've put the primer, and the fragrance stays a little longer. It's not, I mean, a lot of these things I'm going to tell you about today, they're not going to like extend the life of your fragrance like by hours and hours and hours. I think you're talking about maybe 2-3 hours at the most, if that, but they will prolong the life of your fragrance. So if the fragrance primer is available, definitely check it out. I bought this for about $20. I think it was more like $15. It comes in a box like this. So that's one of the things you could do to prolong the life of your fragrance. Now there are fragrances that I also do, and this kind of goes hand in hand with layering. And one of the products that I really love to use, I discovered last summer when I flew to LA and went to Lucky Scent, is this fragrance enhancer from the house of DS and Durga, this one right here. So this one I recently purchased because I had fallen in love with it in LA. Wearing it on its own in the LA's humid heat was perfection. There's a really beautiful scent in here. In the top you've got Bergamot, you've got in the heart ISOE Super, you also have some Vetiver Acetate, and then in the base you've got Civettone, Firsantol, and an Ambrox Super. So Civettone is a synthetic form of Civette, the note that's used to make an animalic note. Firsantol is a sandalwood synthetic molecule. Ambrox Super is Ambroxan, of course, or to replicate the smell of ambergris. And then, of course, ISOE Super is cedar sandalwood. So this one does have a smell. I love the way it smells. If I'm burnt out with smells, I wear it on its own. But layering it with fragrances, it's quite amazing what it does. It has a really, really pleasant skin scent already, and I've recently layered it with fragrances such as Oud from L'Artisan Parfumé. Oh my god, the combination is amazing, and it also extended and prolonged the life of the fragrance as well. Oud is already pretty intense, the cumin or caraway seeds in there. It's very spicy and aromatic and really, really pungent smell with the oud and the dates and the fruits and the rose. But with this one added in, it really, really just made it really, really sexy. A lot more sexy, a little more balanced, because a little more citric and balanced. The sandalwood in here is very, very pleasant, very, very soft. So on its own is great if you like skin scents, because it is, after all, a skin scent, but layered or enhancing a fragrance. The idea is basically fragrance enhancer, as you can see. So enhancing a fragrance is, it does some magic to some fragrances. I've also done it with like Rose 31. I don't know why I'm choosing like cumin-y fragrances. I felt like this works great with cumin. And then also Bois Mysterio, I think it does really, really magic to the fragrance. So I really love this product. Now, when you're going to use it, I think, look at the notes that I've read. Think about it. Will it complement the fragrance? Will it extend the life of what I'm trying to do? With the citrus, I think it'll work great because it has a great bergamot. With woody notes, I think it'll do great. I think vetiver, it'll do great. It has the synthetic vetiver called Vetiver Acetate, or Vetiviral Acetate is what it should say. We'll get to that fragrance also with Molecule 3. But just think about how you're going to extend the life of the fragrance, and are they going to complement. Clashing fragrances makes no sense, because you're going to end up not liking the fragrance, because this does have a smell to it. It's not necessarily completely fragrance free. It does have a smell to it, and it works great with some notes. I mean, most notes it'll work great with, but sometimes it might clash. So think twice about it. But this is a great, great product. I absolutely love it. I couldn't stop thinking about it when I first smelled it in Lucky Scent Scent Bar in LA. So finally I decided to order a bottle because I really, really love this product. And when I get burnt out on its own, it smells great. And also to enhance a fragrance, to make it last longer, it's a great product to use. It's I don't know what. Let's go to Juliette Has A Gun. They have two fragrances, Not a Perfume Superdose, which is the latest one, and then Not a Perfume. This is using a synthetic molecule called Cetalox, which is supposed to smell like, it's supposed to smell like ambergris, but it's a form of Ambroxan, proprietary to an organization. So I think this works great with woody fragrances. It works great with floral fragrances, and also great with citruses. In fact, it'll work great with vanilla as well. I haven't tried this yet, but recently when I did the layering video, someone said that this works great with vanilla vibes from the same from the same house. So it's a great combo. But for me, we're talking about prolonging the life or extending the life or making your fragrances last longer today. And they definitely do. It's just, rather than using this fragrance primer, Canvas and Concrete, you're using a fragrance like this to extend the life of your fragrance. So you're adding a base, and I would spray this on the base, because this is your primer basically. And not only does it have a little bit of a smell, because it's not overly strong. In fact, the original doesn't have too much of a smell, and the Superdose is ultra woody. So I personally recommend this one, but both of them can be used. It just kind of extends the life of the fragrance that you're spraying on top. So when we're talking about mixing different smells, that's more about layering. For me, we're talking about prolonging the life of the fragrance, and that's why we're doing them with fragrances like these that are like synthetic molecules, that are fragrances that are worn on their own, that are like not too smelly. They don't have too much of a smell, but mixed in with other fragrances, they will prolong the life for a few hours, not necessarily like overly a long time, because really there's not a lot of ways you can prolong the life of a fragrance, but doing something like this will. So that is Not a Perfume by Juliette Has A Gun, or Not a Perfume Superdose. Now, there's a couple of things I don't own personally, but I've used as samples. I bought a bunch of Maison Margiela fragrances. You've seen my videos about those fragrances, my lists and things like that, and also my reviews. But Maison Margiela has two filters that you can buy that will not only extend the life of the fragrance, but adds interesting effects to the fragrance. One of them is called Filter Glow, and magnifies the perfume's radiant energy. So I've tried this, and it really does. It makes it just a little more energetic, and it adds like this like energizing effect to the fragrance. It just extends that and magnifies the qualities of what fragrance you're wearing. And then the other filter they have is called Blur, and it adds this like a soft effect. If you ever know, I mean, if you know photography, if you've done any filters or things like that, so There's a soft filter, and that's basically what the filter blur does, and just softens up the fragrance with like a cotton-like soft cloth haze, so that fragrance becomes a little more softer and adds this like blurry effect to the fragrance. So those are two things that you can also add to extend the life of your fragrance, because you're actually applying this filter first and then you're spraying the fragrance on top. And for me, I got the effect of the fragrance wearing experience a little bit longer than I traditionally get with wearing a fragrance. Now, another set of fragrances that I speak about a lot are the Escentric Molecule fragrances. There's 4 in this collection, and I'm hoping their 5th one's going to be about Civettone. We'll see. But there's Molecule 1, which is ISO E Super, which is a Cedar Sandalwood combo. There's Molecule 2, it's this one, and this is the Ambroxan, which is supposed to be like a replication or a synthetic version of ambergris. Then there's Molecule 3, which is Vetiver Acetate, which is supposed to smell like vetiver. And then there's Molecule 4, which has become my favorite. It's Sandalwood. So 4 of these will act like a fragrance primer here. And also, some will act like a layered fragrance as well. I think 2 will act more like a primer rather than an actual smell, are the Molecule 1 and Molecule 2. And even though they have some smell, they're pretty light and not as scent heavy. So those I would use as a primer where you spray it first and then you spray the actual fragrance on top. And then thinking about what these fragrances are, with Molecule 1, it's a Cedar Sandalwood combo, and you have to once again think about the idea of which fragrance is it going to work with. This works with a lot of fragrances, and this is probably the most universal next to the Ambroxan one. So these two I think will work great with a lot of different fragrances. I mean, you're already seeing Ambroxan pop up in a lot of fragrances, so that way you kind of have like already proof that it works with a lot of fragrances. So if you're ever thinking of extending or prolonging the life of a fragrance, you think, okay, I've got ISO E Super from Molecule 1, I can apply that first and then apply something else on top. Again, it's not going to extend your life for multi-hours, good 2-3 hours perhaps, if that, and it'll prolong the life. Same with the Ambroxan one. Both of these, I think, not a lot of scent heavy. They'll work perfect as a fragrance primer. Now, Molecule 3 I think is the least one that I've used because it's so strong as a smell already. It smells really, really strong, and I didn't have the nose anosmia that I had with these, that I've had with the Vetiver one, the Vetiver Acetate. This one, right out of the bat, you can smell it, and you can get to know what you're smelling. Now that one is tough, but I have done layering combos with this as well, and also prolongs the life. Vetiver already is pretty long lasting to me, and I've added it as a base for something like very citrusy, like Bergamot 22, Zerjoff Neo, things like that, or Annick Goutal's Eau d'Adrienne. You add that first, and then you get more like a citrusy vetiver combo, and it prolongs the life a little bit. In fact, with this one, it really does prolong the life a lot because that smell is so strong. So it acts as a great base, but you have to think, what will it work with, and do I want to mix it with something, because this does have a very, very strong smell. Now, last but not least, the Javanol one, which is supposed to smell like sandalwood, like true sandalwood. This one does. Even though I was very anosmic with this one, at first, I totally can smell it now, and it smells gorgeous. It smells like a beautiful creamy sandalwood, so you have to kind of think of what does it complement with. And so the first two, as I said, Molecule 1, Molecule 2 doesn't have too much of a smell, so you can use that as a primer. With these two, think twice before you use it, because you don't want to make them clash, but they work great as primers, I think. So those are some additional things you could do to make your fragrances last longer, in addition to your moisturizing routine in the mornings. Next, we're going to talk about pulse points, and I don't know if you know about pulse points on your body. Pulse point is an area of your body where your heart pulse can be felt. These are the best spots to apply the fragrance or scents or perfumes due to the warmth of your blood. So wrists, right here, these are pulse points. Behind the ears, bottom of the throat, inside of the elbow, right here, right there, and behind the knees. Those are the most prominent pulse points you can apply fragrances. Now, I don't apply fragrances behind the knees, never have. Maybe I never will, but maybe I will, who knows. But the other pulse points I do apply fragrance to, and it's true, I think it does prolong the life of your fragrance because the fragrance and the warmth kind of like stirs it up, and you know, not only does it like make your fragrance come alive and you can smell it more, but then also kind of like there's a projection thing happening, the cloud and all that good stuff works better when it's applied to the pulse points. Now, I don't only apply to pulse points, I apply everywhere. In fact, right out of the shower, I apply all over my body, but I do make sure that the wrists are done here, right here a little bit, and then behind the ears. Those are the best spots to apply to have your fragrance last longer. Then when you're walking, you're sweating, the projection thing is happening, and those kind of like also get you like compliments and things like that. So those are places that are important for you to apply your fragrances. The other thing is applying them on clothes. Like, do you apply fragrances on clothes? I do, because my routine is right out of the shower, spray my body. Then afterwards, I'm dried up a little bit, the pulse points. Then after I'm dressed, a little more on my clothes, so that I have the entire three-dimensional perfume experience, if that makes sense to you guys, because it's everywhere now, and I could smell it, and people can smell it, and all that good stuff. So that's important. But you don't have to apply your perfume to your clothes. The other thing you got to be careful is a lot of perfumes are very dark colored, so just applying them to like light colored clothes, you don't want to do that, because I always take that into consideration. I just make sure clear fragrances are okay for the clothes, unless it's a dark clothing item and things like that, then you might be fine. But some fragrances have so much color that it completely stain your clothes. One thing I want to also mention is rubbing versus not rubbing the perfume. I know a lot of people are against it. I don't have a problem with rubbing fragrances. I love it. In fact, when I rub the perfume, it heats it up, and the top notes disappear much faster, wear off faster, because you're heating it up, and the heat kind of like dissolves the top notes, usually citruses and things like that. I don't have a problem with it, but you have to take that into consideration if you want to make your fragrances last longer. And doing that, it's already going to go into the heart notes quicker, and your fragrance is not going to last as long. So those are some things you should also think about. Now, storing perfumes, we spoke about this in the first video from 2 weeks ago on these how-to videos I've been doing. That's another thing you can make your fragrance last long. If you're storing your perfumes bad, they're already losing their strength and things like that. And when you're wearing them, it's not going to work as good as it should if they were stored correctly. So if you want to find out more information about storing your fragrances, that's one thing to watch, to take into consideration. So if you don't store your fragrances very well, they wear off. Just like you did with the rubbing of the top notes disappearing, when the fragrances are stored bad, those top notes will wear off even in the bottle. So that's something that you need to look into, and you can watch that video to learn about that. And then finally, layering to make your perfumes last longer. We spoke about this today a little bit, and we spoke about it a lot last week. So if you want to have your fragrances last longer, we spoke about combinations here with sort of like fragrances that are like primers, but also layering can actually extend the life of fragrances as well. And there are so many combinations for layering fragrances, and when you put together two beastly fragrances or really long-lasting fragrances, you'll end up with something very nuclear. Or you can actually layer something very light with something very strong, and then you have a little more of an intense experience with the longevity and also the smell, because you have a unique smell and no one's ever smelled it before, and you'll be like, wow, I'm wearing something unique that I've created myself. Because another word for layering fragrances is known as fragrance cocktailing. So if you like the idea of cocktails and coming up with unique random fragrance experiences, then layering is a great tool to use, not only to come up with original scents, but to also extend the life of your fragrances. Anyway, that's my thoughts on how to extend the life of fragrances. Personally, I like fragrances just the way they are. I do once in a while like to extend the life of some fragrances, and once in a while like to layer fragrances, but I like the fragrances as they are. If they don't last as long, but I love the way it smells. I'm still going to wear that fragrance, just going to figure out a way to make it last longer. But also, some fragrances, the way they smell are great, but then accidentally you've discovered some unique combinations and they smell even better. But in general, I prefer to smell the fragrances on their own because they've already finished, they're already great, and they are the way they are. But sometimes you gotta prolong the life of some fragrances, and if you follow these rules, you can. Just keep in mind, you're not going to prolong the life of the fragrances like by days, just a few hours. I mean, in fact, some go for about 2 more hours extra, and then it's done. The other thing is depending on the conditions and your body and all that good stuff. And as I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you haven't washed and showered and gotten out with a very clean body, you might make those fragrances last a little longer. I've experienced that myself compared to when I first showered. So think about what you're doing and play around and extend the life of the fragrances for you guys. And if you have any questions or comments, do list below. Finally, if you have any questions that you want a video created for, please send those emails or questions to lfsgquestions@gmail.com. That way I'll see what's been delivered, and as mentioned, if it deserves a full video on its own, we'll do that. And if there are several questions that should be put together as one video, we'll do that as well. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have your own secrets or rules or how-tos on how to make your fragrances last longer that I didn't cover, do please let me know that as well so that I know what I could do in a future video, or just do it myself. Other than that, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.